welcome to episode 10. We are excited, 10 episodes in our new journey and endeavor, midway through National Wellness Month. So let's do a check-in on that. How about if you just go?
Midway.
I don't have something good to report, so we're gonna
I
just report. How-
do actually. I do. I've been practicing my mindfulness. I resetting, meditation, breathing, all of that. Setting the time aside. I've been able to consciously do that, and it's helped me. I feel like I've gotten insights of like issues that maybe at work or at home, or just like tuning into the internal wisdom, and um yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's
Good. You've been okay.
doing it.
Now, do you have a
I know I have skipped a couple days, uh, but for the most part, I've been doing it daily, and it's been amazing, and I don't want to stop.
good? Do you have a time set, like an alarm set, to, like you're spending time in meditation every day at this time, or is it you're
No,
making it happen at some point throughout the day, not scheduled?
right. I try to do it in the morning before I go into work so that I um, set my mood. Uh, I go in not razzle dazzled in a hurry. I do it to where I could spare 10 minutes before I go into work, and I'm just doing it before I walk into the workplace, and it helps so much.
Good. Um, my commitment this month was my morning routine, and I started off strong. I met with a friend a few times. We walked, and I read my Bible, and I had time for prayer. And um, this week was particularly crazy. So I would say I was, I don't know, 80, 70% okay. We're only halfway through the month. But this week was crazy because it's been a whirlwind. I flew down to San Diego on Tuesday early morning. We left the house like at 5. And then I picked up our other sister. We drove to LA, went to the Taylor Swift concert, and I came back on Friday and on the red eye, and Saturday I slept in. And so I'm going to say I was not as good as I wanted to be, but we're only halfway through, so I can recommit and get back on track. I mean, I want to. It's important
Yeah.
for me, the morning routine. I've been ebb and flows. Like there's been times in my life where I've really been great with my morning routine, and other times not so much. So yes, I'm recommitting. This is my
Do you feel
recommitment.
a Do you feel a difference?
With what? When I'm actually,
The Yeah,
of
the days
course,
you do
yes.
it
Wake up
versus the days you don't.
early and go for a walk and read and get centered and energized for the day rather than waking up late and running into the next thing or whatever. So, yeah,
Mm.
of course, absolutely. I feel better. So, for episode 10, we wanted to highlight our amazing husbands because they have been supportive of us in this journey. And Michelle, how long have you been married?
It'll be 5 years this month,
Five
actually.
years, two little ones.
Two little
And
ones.
so we wanted to highlight Michelle's husband, but he's being amazing and supporting her by taking the kids and watching them every week whenever we do our podcast. He's watching them and tending to them. So he was not able to be highlighted in this episode, but we're
Well,
honoring.
we're highlighting him now,
Yeah,
like
we're
by
honoring
saying
him
that.
now, all of his commitment and support to you in
Yes.
the journey. And then but my husband is here, our kids are older, and so we're gonna have interview with my husband. This is your cue.
Coming in.
All right.
Hi.
Star.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me
How
on
are you?
sessions.
JR? We've heard a lot about you in these past 10 episodes. Well, 9. This is the 10th.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you agreed to come on and talk to us about, well, this month is Wellness Month, so we just wanted to, the main subject is wellness. But before we get into that, just tell us a little bit about yourself so the viewers can know who you are as JR.
Yeah. Well, my name is JR, obviously. I was born and raised in California. I went, let's see, I was born in Meadow Vista, which is like a small town in Northern California. Lived there till I was probably about, I would say 3 or 4. And then we moved to the town of Auburn, California. So went to Catholic school up through 3rd grade. And then went in the public school system. I have a older sister and a younger brother, so I'm the middle child.
Hey,
And,
Michelle is too.
yeah.
Yes, we have that in common.
And then spent the majority of my life in Auburn, California, and then decided to move to Chico, California. A couple buddies of mine were going there to go to college, and I already had a full-time job. I really wasn't like the schooling type of guy, so I already had a full-time job, so I just moved out there with them to kind of just go enjoy my 20s. And so I guess that's pretty much the basics of it. I can't think of off the top of my head what else to say, but yeah, we've been in Ohio for 5 years. We moved out here about 5 years ago, and so we've been in Ohio for 5 years and been married to this beautiful lady for almost 18 years this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
What
Put up with me this
how'd
time.
you guys meet?
That's a good question. So when I was living in Chico, I lived with one of my good friends from high school, and he had a girlfriend that was going to San Diego State, and it just so happens that Desiree was in the same class as her in San Diego, and one weekend she was invited up by this my best friend's girlfriend.
I feel like I'm going to do this a whole bunch of times. I don't know if this is and I'm having flashback to our pilot program. So remember you and I were sitting next to each other and I'm like, I don't know if I need to look at you or the camera. I feel like I'm going to look at JR, but okay. So my friend, we were going to school together. We had a class together, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go visit my boyfriend in Chico. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, I don't know, 22 or 23. I was like, "Sure, I'll go." And I had no idea where Chico was at, and we drove, and it's like a 12-hour drive. So we're driving there, and I'm like, "Where the hell are we going?"
You didn't. You thought it was probably like an hour drive or something, and it's like 8 hours in.
I thought it was Northern California. I knew it was a while, but it was
okay.
a drive, and I was like, "Where are we going?" Okay, continue. Sorry.
So she shows up with Desiree that weekend, and I didn't know like she was bringing somebody, so it was cool to have somebody else there because they hadn't seen each other in a while. So like kind of Desiree and I were like, all right, we can hang out together. So we went out to the bars, and back then in Chico, it was just like cheap, like you could get cover charges was a couple dollars, and we went out and had a great time, went to the bar. We kind of hit it off, just our chemistry hit it off. And I was, like I said, working full time, making good money. And so I had some toys. I had a jet ski and a motorcycle and that kind of stuff. So I was like, hey, you want to go on a motorcycle ride? And so I took her on a motorcycle ride, and we ended up floating down the river, and we just kind of had good chemistry. And when she left, she gave me her number, and she ended up forgetting like some school notes or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. She was studying for so I was like, well, it was before I didn't have a fax machine or anything, and I don't think we had email back at
This was
least
a
then.
long time
Yeah,
ago.
I don't think.
20.
I mean, I'm sure there was email. We just didn't have it like on our phones or anything accessible. I didn't have a laptop or computer or anything. So I like called her and said, "Hey, you forgot your notes," and so we just started chit chatting, and I dictated the notes to her over the phone, and
Wow.
that's just kind of
So
how we.
she could rewrite them? You had to tell her them so she could rewrite the notes
Yeah,
on
yeah.
her side?
She asked me like
Wow.
whatever. Yeah, I guess I could have mailed it to her, but I think we were. You know, she was interested in me and I was interested in her, so it kind of gave us an excuse to talk to each other at least from the beginning.
We
I
talked
love that.
on the phone
Yeah,
for like 6 months or whatever. Yeah. It was cool because we
yeah,
met each other in person and then talked every day, but it was long distance. It was,
yeah,
700 miles away or
yeah.
something. And then we met up a few times. He took a vacation and visited me in San Diego, and we went to Mexico, and we went to Vegas,
Yeah.
and then it was time for me to transfer. I was finished with community college after 4 years. Time to transfer. And Chico was I was paying my way through college in San Diego. I was working full time, paying my way through college. So, so expensive. And Chico was so affordable in this cute little college town. And so I transferred to Chico State University and moved there several months later, I guess.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then we
Probably
dated
6 months later or
and
something.
then got married.
Yeah,
What a
moving
great story.
I don't really want a relationship
Yeah.
right now, and moving out there, and all, and I had ulterior motives. Like, I need to get with this girl. She's the most beautiful, like, awesome person I've ever met. Like, I need to do whatever I can to be with her. So,
I was like, I don't want anything serious.
yeah,
Like, well, we could date or whatever, but
I was like, she's moving to Chico. Got to be somewhat serious. So,
My husband says girls always leave things behind on purpose, whether they know it or not.
I did not mean to. It was funny when he was saying that.
That's yeah.
Literally forgot this. I don't know, but
yeah.
whether they mean to or not
I
is
mean,
the point.
who knows where we'd be if she didn't leave it
Yeah.
behind?
Right. Exactly. Oh, that's a great story. I love it.
But yeah, so that's how we met. Yeah.
So you guys got married and it's going on 18 years now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have 2 kids together.
we do. Yeah, we have a 16-year-old and a 10-year-old, and just kind of learning a lot as being married. You wouldn't think that been married 20 years, but we're still learning a lot about each other, and we're still discovering things, and still learning how to connect on different levels and stuff. So it's definitely been a journey. Yeah.
How is that journey? What is I want to say what's the best thing about it being married?
The best thing about being married, that you just have that companionship. Somebody
Yes.
to confide in and trust and
Yes.
be able to tell them anything, whether it might be off the wall or whatever. You can still just trust that they know you more than almost more than you know yourself. Sometimes they
Yes.
just somebody you can really trust.
I agree. I feel like when I know my husband's my best friend, and it's so great to be yourself 100% and know that you'll be still loved and accepted.
Yeah,
Being with a partner, being with a person that you is your best friend, and you can be you.
yeah,
Because everywhere else you can't. I don't feel like you can. So yeah, I think I agree. That's my favorite part. What's your favorite part, Desiree?
That I married Mr. Handyman Fix It, and he fixes everything I break.
Thank you for He is Mr. Handyman. What are your hobbies, GR? Speaking of handyman, is that a hobby of yours, or you just know how to do it, so you have
Just
to do it?
a hobby. Yeah, I mean, I guess coming from coming from my mom raising me from, I lived with just my mom from probably, let's see, fifth or sixth grade on. So it was kind of lower income. So just like I would, if I wanted something, I'd have to buy something that was broken and fix it. So like I always try to fix things. I wanted a dirt bike, so I buy a couple broken ones and fix it into one. So just kind of from then on and started, even as a kid, even before
Right.
my parents separated.
It was
My
innate.
grandma like would, they would buy me model airplanes and model cars, and I would build models and the old Revell, I think it was Revell models, and you would build all those kind of models and RC cars and that kind of stuff. My grandma would take me to Radio Shack and help buy things, little pieces of parts to help fix her VCR, and I'd take a VCR apart and fix it. So just kind of, I think it was just built into me to fix stuff from the beginning. So, and my dad was always in construction and building things, so I mean, I'm sure it runs in the blood, but kidding aside.
Yeah, that's because it's super handy to be married to Mr. Handyman who fixes everything. But the companionship, the lifelong companionship, the adventures we go on, he knows me so well, and family history and trials, especially being married for so long. Just doing life together, enjoying life, being there for each other, supporting each other is
Yeah.
my favorite. The companionship of doing life together with someone you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's my final answer.
So yeah, so fixing things has always been in me. I like to tinker with stuff, fix it. Like I consider myself almost like a gypsy. I think that's a term. I buy, sell, trade stuff. So I've always, buy something cheap, fix it up, sell it, get something different. So I think I've owned 40 something vehicles, and outside of that mechanical portion of it, I really like the outdoors. So my stepdad really got me into hunting, and I enjoyed that. We had a family cabin out in California. So my dad really wasn't into guns, but my stepdad showed me how to use them and taught me about hunting and stuff. My dad taught me about fishing, and so my stepdad gave me the hunting and my dad gave me the fishing. So those are kind of like my time to just go out and just, when you're out doing that stuff, that's all you think about: the fish you're going to catch or the deer you're going to find, or just that kind of stuff. So it's peaceful to me. It's nice to be out.
It's your reset.
Yeah, my dad was always
Yeah.
camping, so love to go camping and just enjoy the outdoors. So it's something that I've wanted to do. So I just, Desiree was on board with it. She's always on board with a lot of the things I like to do. So so we like to do camping together too now too, even with our kids.
Do you use a tent?
You know what? We did start out in a tent. So yeah, we've been tent camping, and then we upgraded to a.
Interjection.
There's a story behind that.
Oh, okay.
And camping. And since we're talking about our relationship and stuff, we were dating maybe like a year and a half or so, and his mom and his grandfather were going to Hawaii and invited us to go with them. So we were like, yeah. So he packed in a tote a tent and everything that we would need for the tent while we're still dating. We're like in our early 20s or whatever. And she takes it to Hawaii. And so we tent camped on the beach in Hawaii, is where he proposed to me, actually. It was like dream proposal. It was during the sunrise on the beach in Hawaii.
Sorry, guys.
Yes, I love that. They usually propose during sunset. He did sunrise. Like I'm gonna live this whole day with a fiance. I'm not gonna wait till the very end.
A sunset dinner.
Yeah, so we wrapped it all up. But anyway, so I think that probably was the first time. No, I don't know if that was the first time we tent camped. But speaking of tents, he packed it all up, and I was so impressed. Like, this guy, he's always prepared. He always brings everything that we need, and packed everything for this trip in Hawaii, had it shipped, and or did you check it in?
Yeah,
What
we
did
ended
you
up
do?
like I think we like checked in a tote.
A
Like
tote
we had a
checked
tote
in,
like
yeah.
as like a check bag. Though they
Yeah.
did go through it and pull like I had like a propane canister or something for maybe a stove or something, and they took it out and threw it away or something. So I was like, well, I guess we can just eat out. We don't need to cook anything.
Yeah, so we tent camped on the beach, and it ties into our
Yeah.
proposal because it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know, I think the reason was one, she was in college and I was just working a regular job, so we were kind of broke, you know. And we're like, well, I don't know if we can really afford a hotel or a cottage like my grandparents, my mom and my stepdad were staying in, but a tent site a night is like $10 a night or whatever on the military base. So let's just do that. And it seemed like a great idea. Like, hey, it's Hawaii. Like, how bad can the weather be? You know, we're not going to get like inclement weather or storms or anything like that. So that's what we did, and it turned out great. It was really fun. Something to look back on.
It was a good trip.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's nice.
yeah.
I felt like I was there.
There's some other stories behind too. We had some good times there. So,
Confessions for another time.
when you're a kayaking adventure.
So, JR, you were saying that you like the outdoors and hunting and fishing. So that would you say that's how you take care of your wellness,
Yeah,
being this wellness month?
that's one aspect of it. Those are nice. Like I think I'm coming out of being more of an introvert. I think for a long time I was kind of an introvert, where and meaning I don't mind like talking with people and that kind of stuff, and but I just don't get really deep. You know, it was always surface level. You know, about jobs and life and that kind of stuff. Nothing like serious. So being an introvert, I think other people, you know, they draw your energy out of you, and an extrovert
Yes,
is their energy is built by other people. You know, they get in
right.
from other people. So I think I'm that. I think that being an introvert, when I'm by myself or out in the wilderness, something like that, I do get recharged. But I think maybe I'm teetering on the edge of, you know, coming out of being a total introvert and more where people do recharge me, you know, like having a conversation with somebody. So I think, and that's just now in my 40s, you know, but for a long time, I love hanging out with my friends and my boys and that kind of stuff. Um, and my wife, of course, and everybody, but, um, it's just like, yeah. So going out hunting and fishing and just kind of focusing on one thing, that was kind of my way to,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And going back to the Hawaii thing, that was one thing, my mechanical ability and working on cars and stuff, like that's kind of what got us to Hawaii. Like I think I put an engine in somebody's car for them and got paid for it, and then that's how I bought our tickets to Hawaii. You know, it was like I've always kind of used
Wow.
this ability to get something else. You know, it was never like I just worked a job and paid. I was like, okay, let me get this extra money here or something like that. So always kind of looking for in my mind how to trade or do something. But
That's great. I love that. Similar with my husband. He sometimes he offers up his a knowledge of cars on OfferUp the app, and on weekends sometimes people come over and he'll fix their car for them, and then we use that money to whatever we needed it for. Yeah, so something unexpected comes up, or anything like that, or we want to go on a trip or something. He'll do he'll use his skills to uh, make a dollar or two. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yep. No, it's great.
So when
It's a good skill.
when we're speaking of wellness, I also wanted to know what you guys do for your wellness in your marriage. For me, I me and my husband, everyone says, like, go on dates and stuff to keep your marriage alive. But right now with our little ones, we can't really do that as often as we like. So every weekend we try to do some sort of like barbecue or something, and me and him go outside and enjoy 30 minutes together. Just me and him. Um, we take whatever we can. What about you guys?
Do you want to start off, or you want me to start
Go
off?
ahead.
um, well, let's see. So, I mean, we've been married 20 years, so,
No,
or I mean, sorry,
17.
18 years, almost 18 years. We've been together probably almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been through those phases where you got kids and you're in the grind and you're working a full-time job and you got kids to take care of
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So I think, Desiree's always done a great job at doing a date night or something like that through those times, or surprising me with something. And she's always very intentful. Me, on the other hand, it's harder for me to surprise. I'm not good at holding in surprises. So, um,
Okay, something about this. I love surprises. And he seriously, he went Christmas shopping a couple years. Here's an example. He went Christmas shopping a couple years ago, and he came home and he had these bags, and he was like, "Hey, I got you some really cool Christmas gifts. Do you want to see them?" Oh, I don't, but I do. But I don't. How do you ask?
Yeah, yeah.
So he has a really hard time with surprises.
but I would say lately, over the past year and a half or so, we've really been getting more in tune with each other. I've never been one for counseling or anything like that. I just really didn't focus on that self-care. But over the past year and a half, we've really been digging deep into our marriage and, our patterns and how we were raised and stuff like that, and our situations that we've been through to who we are today. So I would say wellness now is marriage counseling. We went this morning. We
Oh, wow.
talk about things that necessarily might not, I would say, offend the other person, but more like it's,
We talk about difficult things.
yeah, difficult things, so
That we normally wouldn't have. We have, in our 17 years of marriage, we've never fought. Probably less than a handful of times. Like, we don't
yeah,
fight. We are pretty easygoing. If something comes up, we'll kind of speak our piece and let the other person know, but we don't fight. Um, but count, which you think is awesome, but it's important to be able to hash things out in a healthy and appropriate way. And so
yeah,
we're learning about how to have
Yeah.
difficult
Okay.
conversations rather than just avoiding them altogether. In our journey in the past year and a half or so, we've learned about different ways that we communicate and different ways that we operate within our marriage. And one of the things we read this, got through, we started reading this book called How We Love, or
mhm,
How You Love.
how we love.
How We Love. It was really profound. Like, you can take the quiz, and come to find out he's an avoider and I'm a pleaser. And so those two people are not,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm avoiding situations and she's trying to
please.
please.
And so things aren't really being resolved. And so it's been an incredible journey of learning about different ways that we operate individually and within our marriage and those dynamics. And it's
Yeah,
important because I think so many people just um, act out of reflex and not intentionality, or even know
Right.
there's all these underlying things going on contributing to how they communicate or contributing to their thought process. And so us digging deeper into our marriage has really illuminated a lot of things, and we've had a lot of hard discussions
mhm,
that have always turned out incredibly fruitful. And
yeah, and they might start out rough, or we
right,
might have raw emotion. We're
right,
mad at each other, or upset at each other, or disappointed in each other. But talking through it all and then finalizing at the end, we're like, okay,
it was
well,
good,
that was really good. Like, we
important.
both feel better about it. So yeah, so marriage counseling, um, it's been great for us. And then like a couple programs through church. One was called Re-engaged. It's a like a couples. Every Wednesday night they go through like a 16-week program all about marriage and expectations and things all about re-engaging with your spouse. Or I think it's good for anybody in any range, of whether you just got married or you're married for 30 years. So That was really good, and we're gonna do it again this year too. Even though we've already went through the program once, I think it's good to just go through it this time too, because now we're in different places than we were last year. You know,
Yeah.
relationships in a different place, and we're in different places. So I think keeping up on that kind of stuff, and then I guess final like date nights, like she surprises me with some date nights here and there. I surprise her with a couple date nights here and here, and we get out and we enjoy each other. You know, and it might be just a spur of the moment thing. Like she'll come home and be like, "Hey, I want to go out." Okay, cool. Let's
Find a
get the
babysitter.
kids dinner, and they'll be cool here, and we'll go out and do something. You know, whether it's an hour or half a day, or a weekend. I think it's good just to get out and connect. Lately, it's been in the hot tub, like on the evening.
Oh, that's been wonderful wellness. We got a hot tub.
We put the kids to bed. Just sit in the hot tub for an hour.
Yes.
We've had some great
Yes.
hot tub and
Oh, wow.
TV off. Not watching a show or something like that, and just connecting and talking.
Right. Yeah, getting away from the electronics is a big, big thing. Yeah. That's one of my pet peeves with these electronics. People are not
Engaged.
engaging. I've taken pictures of
Sister
I probably
confession.
shouldn't, but
I feel like sister confessions coming up.
it is actually. When my kids are hanging out with their cousins or even their older siblings, I take a picture of them hanging out and they're just all on their gadgets, and I'm just like, this isn't bonding. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in the room together, but they're all in their own worlds and they're not engaging.
Yeah.
So you have a very good point. Turn off the TV, turn everything off, and be with your spouse.
Yeah. We enjoy watching a show together and stuff like that. But we were even talking about the other night. We're like, hey, maybe we can just watch a show 2 nights a week, and 3 nights a week we can not watch.
Go in the hot tub.
Yeah, go in the hot tub, do whatever. Yeah, actually engage with each other. Because trust me, there's nights where we're like, okay, we just want to lay in bed and watch a show, or both be tired. We just want to do that. But it is about being more intentional and
connecting, and the discussions that come out of it.
And it just doesn't happen at the beginning of marriage, right? Like we've gone through so many different stages in our marriage, and we're in a different stage now. I think more of a growth stage than we've ever have been before. So, but it's taken a lot of things in our marriage to learn that. It hasn't been just a nice, smooth path. It's been, I think with any marriage, you have ebbs and flows and challenges and trials and things that come in through, job losses and moves, and just all sorts of stuff that happens. Kids change at different ages and going through different things. So all that affects your relationship, like because you're going, you might have different ideas about everything. And obviously we're not the same people. I call her, she's the smart one. She's very, she's intellectual and spiritual, and can write and play music and super artistic.
Okay, keep going on.
And into that, I don't have rhythm, and I can fix things, but that's something. We all have our own gifts,
right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's what it takes in a marriage, is a team, So even though we might not be the same or think the same, but then that also takes more work to connect, because we're not always on that same level of connection. So it takes her coming down a couple levels to talk to me, and me going up a couple levels to talk to her, to meet in the middle somewhere.
That is a great point about like honoring who the other person is, and learning how to communicate with that person. And that's a really good point. I would say another thing to contribute to everything that JR said is, as far as wellness in our marriage, is having fun. Like we have a lot of fun together. We go on a lot of adventures and vacations and day trips, and even just, joking around the house with the kids and being silly. And I think laughter and joy is a big component in our marriage that we've always had. We have a lot
That's
of
true.
we have a lot of fun and a good sense of humor together, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, JR. So 18 years. Do you have any tips for people in relationships?
Yeah. I actually got asked that question the other day. I forget who I was talking to, but they were like, "Wow, 18 years you've been married." Like,
It's really 17, going
okay,
on 50.
18 in October. Hey, at least I remember
Yeah.
married. So yeah, 17 years married. We'll be 18 in October, which is pretty soon, a couple months away. Um, and he was like, "Yeah, most people just say happy wife, happy life, you know." And yes, of course, you want your wife to be happy, and I've always just tried to make my family happy and my wife happy. But that being said, I think the important point is that you have to have tough conversations. You have to be able to work through things and know how to work through things. And I think that's one problem with marriage these days is that everybody gives up too easy. You know, like there's so many obstacles you're going to face being married. And
In life.
yeah, and I think the world's view of marriage is that there's no problem with divorce and it's so easy to get remarried and start over. You don't like something about this person, then move on and find somebody that you like. But you know, in God's view of it, and you know, I'm a believer and I believe in the sanctity of marriage and that no matter what happens, you stick it out, you know, you work through it. And because if you don't do it on this one, you know, you're not going to do the next one, you know. So and I know there's all sorts of situations. I'm not saying I'm against divorce or whatever, and that people who are divorced can't get remarried and have that marriage and the second marriage. I'm just saying for me myself, like I am a product of of a broken marriage, you know, and I've seen the division it caused, and I don't want my kids to experience any of that, like having to split time between parents and that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
I say you got to work hard. You know, it's hard work and it's difficult and it's not easy and it takes time. And we're proof of it. I mean, we've been married almost 18 years, 17 years. You know, we've been married 17 years, and we are still learning stuff about each other. You know, stuff that I forget the analogy, but I think it was in our re-engage class where they said like even the little things, it's like a strainer, you know, there's so many little holes can sink a boat. One big hole can sink a boat, but all these little holes can sink a boat too. So it could be just little things that you hold in, that you
Wow.
out, that you push aside. But I think the key of it is address
them.
these little
Yeah.
things, you know, have the conversation, whether it's about toilet paper or it's about something silly.
Like toilet paper.
Like
We
toilet
just
paper.
had a conversation about that today, actually. So we processed it in marriage therapy. We won't get into that. But
Toilet paper.
yeah, but
Yes,
point
Yeah.
of like
it is the little things. Yes, it all adds up. You're right.
If
One
you,
of the things that we talked about in another one of I forgot which number.
watch
Isn't that sad?
also you
We're
know what
only,
I'm talking about.
we're only on episode 10, and I'm like, I don't know what number it was. um, but yeah, it was. We have to work on like what you were saying. I love that analogy of the small holes can still sink a ship. Like if you don't address those small things. And
yeah,
what I was going to with that was I would go to my therapist and I would be like, is this even worth bringing up, you know, to my husband? Because I would always bring it up to my therapist first to be like, this is my issue, not his or whatever. And let me work on it, not bother him with all the things that bother me. Like, these are things that bother me because of the issues I have. It's not him. So do I bring it up to him, or else I'm just gonna I'm gonna make him miserable. And she said, Well, once we talk about this, if it still bothers you, then yes, you should bring it up. So that's what I would do, and it's never a fight. It's not. It's a discussion, like you said. It is an uncomfortable discussion for me, especially because it's something that's bothering me uh, that I have to bring up. But I make sure that it's a discussion and not a fight. We don't have to fight, and that's one thing about uh, working on ourselves. If you're working on yourself, JR, and you're working on yourself, Desiree, you're more willing to have these difficult conversations. There's people that don't work on themselves, and so these difficult conversations are fights. And
Yeah.
if you're actually trying to
Be better and learn
be
and
better, exactly,
live it
learn, and
time
it's
together.
not an attack. Yeah,
We talked
it's actually a discussion. And I'm,
about that in
for
therapy.
me myself, go ahead. Go
We
ahead.
talked about that in therapy today, actually. Is
Yeah.
what
Oh, did you?
was our discussion of like, I have a difficult, I think, and that's where a few episodes back, watch them all so you can refer back to them, about
Yeah.
positivity has maybe my strength of positivity has maybe turned into a weakness because I didn't address those things. It was just like, well, this or that came up, but he's an incredible husband and a great provider and a great husband and a great father. And
Yeah.
so I just focus on the positive, but I wasn't tending to my needs or those little things. And I felt like, that's petty, that's little, that's stupid. I'm not even going to bring it up. Just be grateful and positive. And that is still something that and that was my question of like, I don't know the parameter of like, what do I bring up to him or not every little trigger, every little thing that bothers me,
Right.
but what do I do? And I remember you telling me, like, if it still bothers you after a couple of days after you've processed it, then bring it
Yeah.
up. Like, and that was something
Yeah.
that you did in therapy too. Like, we're still,
Yeah.
we just talked about it today.
And on my side,
Yeah.
I would say husbands, like, listen, I think every husband out there would be like, if you do something, that bothers your wife and she doesn't say anything about it, over time that's going to build up some sort of resentment against you. But I would have, though it might be hard for your wife to say, hey, this thing you do bothers me or whatever, or vice versa. I'm not saying it's all me doing things that bothers her. There's, we're married.
Yeah.
What? What? What's that?
There's things that my wife does with me, but what I'm saying is that I want to do everything I can to make my wife happy. And if I know there's something that I can change, and usually these things are very minute, like, okay, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm willing to make those changes. Like, I'm willing to make sacrifices on the way I think about things or the way I do things to make my wife feel more comfortable and secure in our relationship, So that's at least what I think about marriage. Like, there is give and take, and don't be afraid to bring those subjects up, because even though I am kind of like a spur of the moment emotional type of guy, like I might get upset in the beginning, but my rational brain's going to kick in and be like, okay, yeah, you know i'm going to change it. I'm going to work on changing this about myself to for my wife to be more comfortable with me, and love me for what I'm sacrificing for her or what I'm doing for her, so like I want her to be happy. And and there's things that I need to do maybe outside of my comfort zone, like being more emotionally available for her. Like, of course,
Mm.
I think the stigma of men is that we don't show the emotion. We're the rock, we're the provider, we're the man. We stand up for our wives
Yes.
and we fight for them, and we don't show any emotion, and but the truth of the matter is we're humans, and
Yes.
all this stuff is inside of us, and
You've been suppressing it for so long or not
Yes.
practicing on how to because you've had to
yeah.
from the stigma.
And I'm not saying I'm going to break down and cry about it. I'm just saying that I recognize it, that okay, this is what I'm doing, and get better about it. Like just for her, to be a better connection, a better, So that's really what I've been
But
is that kind of stuff in our therapy, like recognizing before I say something like a trigger, whatever, and I explode right then. And then I'm like feel bad about it afterwards. At least try to recognize and catch myself in the midst of it and be like, hey, I'm feeling pissed off right now.
triggered.
Talk about
Yeah.
it. Like,
Right.
so I think that's been great for us, even in the last year. Like I said, 17 years of marriage, and we're still learning stuff about.
Yeah.
I feel like I knew it was kind of like a late bloomer, but I didn't think 40s I would be figuring stuff out about my marriage. But hey,
Same thing. I have had some breakthrough revelations in therapy over this last couple of months. Maybe we'll talk about it at another future podcast. But 2 weeks ago in my counseling session, I was like, I cannot believe I'm 40 something and realizing this about myself, that I've been operating in this way subconsciously. Like, I once you dig deep and get deeper and deeper and deeper, like, you realize
Yeah.
these things that it's like I had no idea. So we're a big proponent of counseling, and
yeah,
they have a great way of being able to have you think deeper about things and guide the conversation. And I've talked about my journey in with Celebrate Recovery and all those steps and deep thinking, and it's been a beautiful journey that we've been on, more so the past year and a half or so, of like learning more about ourselves and learning more about how to connect with each other. And yeah.
yeah. And I think that it rolls over into everything. It rolls over into how we parent our kids and how we
Relate with other
relate with
people.
other people at work or outside of work or whatever. It really marriage counseling, I think, is more life counseling, because if you can learn how to
Yeah.
and be, coexist with your wife on a great level and have a great relationship with her and make that work, you can make anything work.
if
You
we
can't.
can make this work, you can make anything
If
work.
you can like
There's hope.
accomplish marriage, like, man, you've scaled the mountain already. Like, you do anything.
I agree. I 100% agree. There are so many relationships that are rocky just because the two people come in with their baggage. Like I've said, their baggage of stuff that they don't even know they have, and then they can't relate to each other than the physical connection. So they want to relate to each other in other ways, but they don't know how, and because they're not working on themselves. If you're not working on yourself as a person, you don't know how to relate to other people or anything else, because you're always triggered. There's always
Life.
issues. We all, yeah, you could have a great childhood. Life still happens to you, and and it forms you as your childhood years, and it forms you of who you are, and then you have to like re-raise yourself as an adult of,
Addressing those
you
issues.
know, yeah. So relationships as young people that do not know these things, I feel like uh your relationship isn't working because you're not working on yourself, and your partner is not working on themselves. And once you guys are working on yourselves, you can grow together. And if not, if one person's doing it and the other person isn't, then you're growing, you're going to grow out of that person, unfortunately.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say that, actually, because we got married in our mid 20s, and for any relationship that's been for a long time, obviously, you go through um, different phases, and some
Yeah.
people grow more emotionally or spiritually or whatever. And if exactly what I'm so glad you said that, because I was just thinking that, like,
Yeah.
the point
Yeah.
is to be aware of ourselves and grow together, because if one person
Together.
is like on this journey and the other person doesn't care or isn't on the journey or isn't open to it, then they're leaving them in the dust, and then there's this disconnect, and then there's all these things, like, and it's normal, like, as we're all going through phases as we grow through life, and the goal is, like a long-term life commitment, I think, to have that companion, to have that life partner, to have that best friend for your whole life, if you know, want that. Um,
Yeah.
but life, whatever life throws at you, you just never know how it's gonna, you're going to grow and learn from it. And the point is to be open and have these discussions, and self-awareness and actualization. Self-actualization is the goal of like being open to it. And over this past year and a half or so, we've been really digging deep, on all of that, and learning how to
Yeah.
connect with each other in a different level. And the things that he had said was this, re-engage program through our church was really, it wasn't about the other person, which I
No.
love.
Yeah.
That it was all about, how do you deal with conflict, how do you deal with this, what are
Yes.
your thoughts on this, and how to look at ourselves separately,
Right.
and
Right.
that illuminated on how we deal with things together. And that was phenomenal. We had said like, gosh, we wish we would have done something like this early in our marriage. Like, it really brought up things that we had never thought about through the lots of years we've been married. It's so
Yeah.
important, and it's well worth it, like to have a fulfilling, emotionally connected, um relationship is the most beautiful gift. And it's challenging, and but those challenges help us grow. Like like we were saying, it's been hard for us to have difficult conversations, but through us in our journey over this past little while of like, but we're both open to learning, we both want to make this work, we both want to grow. And so it's okay, whatever we're going to talk to each other about. Like, if he comes with me about something difficult, I know he's not against me. I know it's not, you know, bad, but it's like, let's figure this out together. And
Yeah.
we're on the same page, we're on the same team. So
Team. Yes.
And to kind of add
Yeah.
that, you know, if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, like going to church and doing this re-engage program really like opened it up to me too. Like, your spouse isn't gonna be like your your 100%, right? Like, you gotta, they're not gonna be able to
Yes.
fulfill you on all these levels. It's impossible, physically impossible, mentally impossible, emotionally impossible for a human being to be 100% connected to you on every single level that you want them to be. So, like, that's where that whole triangle comes in. That, God in the center, and we're on each side, and He's the one that is going to fill that gap. So that's one thing that I really like fell back on, is like, okay, I know I'm not a perfect husband. I've made mistakes. I know I haven't been everything I can be to my wife, and the only way for me to be that is to write my relationship with God. Rely on Him and give Him the control, because I am kind of a control freak. I like to control situations and everything. And
husband confession.
husband confession,
He's a
I'm a
control
freak.
freak.
Yeah, I like to drive. I like to have things done a certain way. Think my way is the right way the 100% of the time. But I'm learning in myself.
The
Like, I have to
yeah.
let go of control, and that's hard. When you're the type of person that can control situations and you can fix things, and you think you're the person, you're not, right? No matter who you are,
The
you're not the person.
yeah.
Ultimately we have a higher power that's in control, and so you have to let go of that. And the same thing in a relationship, sometimes you have to let go of, like, I can't control what Desiree thinks, feels, about me. I can only do what I can do as a husband,
Yeah.
and a friend, and then God's
Like,
that thing we both need to lean on, and then He'll bring us together in a marriage. So that's what it's about. I mean, that's really what I've learned this year too. Is that my relationship with God is first, and second is my relationship with my wife, and third is my kids and my family. So that's how it's got to be. That's got to be my closest relationship is with God, and because of that, He makes this work. He makes our family work. He makes everything else work. But you have to put that trust in that. That's
right. And let go of the control.
yeah, because
Right.
miracles have happened in our marriage this year, the last year and a half, and it's
Miracles.
not because of either of us. It was out of our control. So to have that happen in our lives has really opened my eyes to like, all right, God, like I gotta trust you in things. And when you trust him in little things, you trust him in big things, and this was a big thing. You put the trust in that. And then you look at things and you're like, why don't I just talk about like why don't I just trust God with my money or my decisions I'm gonna make at work or whatever, So it is hard to give up control in every area of your life. There's things you kind of hold back and you're like, well, I got this under control, but really, obviously, the decisions we make as humans and people
Sinful people.
aren't always the right decisions, just in everyday life.
Yeah.
That's kind of how
I like to add on that. So before I used to think God was up there, and now I believe he's inside us. They always say God's in you, but I believe it because
Yeah.
I've had experiences. And so when you're saying like let go of you, that's like your ego. That's your
Pride.
flesh or whatever, the pride, the ego of I got this. But if you let the internal wisdom in you guide you, which is God, but if you tune into that, because that what I'm trying to say is that was way more helpful to me than to reaching out to something way out in the sky that I think is controlling everything, like we're puppets. That was hard for me to grasp. But now that I've been practicing a lot of mindfulness and being still this month, I've been involved in conversations with the wiser part of me, and it's inside you all the time wanting to guide you, and that has helped me so much to let go, because I know that I could still be guided and it's still me, but it's inside me. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that too, is that we don't know that unless if we read the Bible and know God's
Mm.
and know, all of that. Like if we're not reading the Bible, then we don't really know. So the Holy Spirit guiding us and through the wisdom. I mean, that's what he says, meditate on my word day and night.
Yeah.
That's the point of
Yeah.
we
But
need.
a lot of times you go to church and they talk and you think he's out there somewhere, but he's not. It's not like that. It's in all of us. And if you quiet your mind and your ego and you just listen to your inner, deeper, wiser voice, it will guide you. And that is, I think, what you're saying. I'm trying to relate to you of you just
Well, that's what
putting that aside.
Yeah.
You put that aside and just let it happen, and it's evolving into something beautiful, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was the same way. Like you think, you've been raised in the church, and I went to Catholic school, and I was raised in a
Another husband confession. He got kicked out of Catholic school in third grade. He got kicked out.
I don't know if it was kicked out, but I did get suspended.
Oh, suspended. Okay. And had to repeat third grade in public school. Okay,
I did,
sorry.
yeah.
Keep going.
Don't say the F word in Catholic school. You get in trouble.
You get your hands.
No, what I'm saying is, like, for the longest time, I believe in the higher power. I believe in God. I believed in something I didn't think.
But
we
it
were
was
just exploding.
higher.
But
It was,
But it was up here.
Outside.
Well,
Yeah.
had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, where I
Right.
like trusted him with everything in my life's out of control. God, I don't have anybody else to turn to. I can't. No one on earth can solve my problems, can fix what's going on. I give it to you. It wasn't until that to where like I saw like what God can do in my life. And that's the thing. That is a personal relationship. That's inside. That's personal.
Inside.
You
Yes.
see things happening in your life that you like have no explanation
There's
for.
no
Like,
way. Yeah.
okay, God, like that's awesome. Like sometimes it's almost unbelievable. You're
Yeah.
like, is this true? Like I don't know. Like, okay, I'm just gonna trust that you got this under control.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a lot of faith, it takes faith
Mhm.
to trust that, and it takes a lot of
vulnerability to surrender
to
everything.
to
Like,
just let go of control.
yes.
Like because there's things that you want to do in your head, like, oh, I
Right.
want to do this,
Or
this is,
fleshly
I got this
desires.
handled. I'm
Yeah.
gonna handle this myself. Like where's that gonna get you? You've been trying to handle this for yourself. It hasn't worked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that because I totally know what you mean of having to let go. And the only time I was able to was to know that he's not out there, he's in here, and
Yes.
he's in all of us. And to
you don't have to go to church.
when I go
You don't
ahead.
have to go to church to get that, right? You can be in God's word and meditate on His word, and there's people that don't go to church that are saved and that have a relationship with God. I think the
Yes.
biggest thing that I've learned is that being an introvert, like community is important. So having a group of people that you can trust and outside of like your best friend or your wife or whatever, if you have a community group or a community at church
of similar beliefs.
yeah. And it takes a while. We've been at 8 different churches since we moved to Ohio, and it wasn't until last year when we found our home church that has really helped us grow more than we ever have before. So to have that community of people, and we're still working on it. We've tried a community group and it just wasn't for us. It didn't mesh like where we wanted it to mesh. So
Just it didn't. The people were awesome, but they didn't have kids.
yeah,
And if we're
yeah.
going to a community group every week, and
We
our
want
daughter was there, just like in the basement by herself, like we wanted a community group that
Yeah.
she was incorporated. There were other kids too,
Yeah.
but it's a journey. Like
It is, yeah.
and even through our church hunting time, it was I don't know. Like you see, you don't have to go to church, and I agree. Like you can have your own relationship with God
Yeah.
without going to church, but there's so much value and benefit to having a community, meeting other people who are believers, having other activities and groups and stuff that continue to help us grow and inspire. And even through our church hunting, like it was laborious for a while,
Yeah.
but we learned like, okay, we like this, oh, we don't like this,
Yeah, you
oh,
learn a
this,
lot.
yeah, this is like
Yeah.
a big value of us that we didn't even know if we wouldn't have seen it or not seen it or whatever. So it was
Like dating.
like dating,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't want that in a partner. Okay.
Even if you have a church, like if you
Red
had
flag, red flag.
if you
Right.
had some sort of community where you could have a discussion like we're having right now,
Exactly.
like this could be a community. Like we could create our own YouTube community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're watching and you have a community, comment here, let us know what your community is. Like and that's the whole point of the
Yeah, it
podcast
can
of
be
wanting to grow and open these discussions about life and
Yes.
what we've been doing through all these different episodes is like
Yes.
thinking about the different aspects and our trials and errors and things that we've learned and just being vulnerable and authentic. So
Yes. All right, JR, after all these great conversations today, I want to know what it's like to be married to Desiree.
Married to Desiree. I would say it's exciting. She is always down. She's spontaneous. She loves surprises. Just being married to her, I don't know. It's kind of like on my side of things, having my own cheering squad. Like she's always been,
How cute.
yeah. Like I have a cheerleader all the time. Like she's always positive. She's always pushing me to be the better version of me. Like sees potential in me that I don't see, and so to have somebody like that supported you and made you feel like confident and worth more than you think you are, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
good answer.
I
See you later.
I know that value in life, because I feel like my husband is my greatest support. Like he thinks I'm amazing and I'm not. Like he tells me, I could he just thinks he tells me he thinks I'm like superwoman.
I think you're
And
too.
I do too.
like I know exactly what you mean though, of not feeling a certain way about yourself, but when your partner feels that way about you
Yeah.
and lifts you up, and it does keep you going. If you have a partner tearing you down all the time, it's gonna tear you down. So
Yeah.
I love that.
And great takeaway, the importance of us building each other up, like just
Yeah.
being positive and highlighting what we love about each other, regardless if it's an intimate relationship or not. But yes,
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
We all need more love, right?
Yeah, and
We all need more love. That's right.
I think that's what
My
it's
son,
for her is
my
that.
son, he asked, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
My son, he asked me real quick, when we watch movies with villains, he's like, why is he a bad guy? I said, he didn't get love when he was little. So yeah, we all need love. We need the love.
Especially the
Yeah.
kids.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, JR. Sorry.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that's what attracted me to her is that, when I met her, she was already on her own. She had her own apartment. She was putting herself through college. She did everything for herself. Like me, I'm pretty independent. I don't need a whole lot of things, and I saw that in her, and I was like, oh, great. Not somebody I have to like take care of.
Save. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't. She's got everything going for her, and so that was one thing that was attractive to me. But what I've learned through our marriage is that I just I'm not good at like the encouragement like she is, So that's something I have to dig deep for and and be a temple about, because I think it. I've never not thought it. Like I adore this woman, and she's amazing, mother and everything she does she's successful at. There's not one thing that she hasn't been successful at. So but I just need to express that, and that's my fault, and that's something that I've learned to be better at, is to verbalize it.
Be vocal.
In
Yeah,
terms
be vocal about
thinking,
things.
okay,
Yeah.
she knows I know she's amazing, but
Yeah.
tell her more often, so but yeah, she's great at it. That's one of her spiritual gifts is encouragement, and she's good at it. Like anybody who, when she's in a crowd, everybody's, she can encourage anybody. She can bring the light. She's the light in the party. Just because she's bubbly and sweet.
We should have you on next episode. I'm loving this episode.
Earning points here, guys.
Okay, well, this is our Sister Confession YouTube series podcast. You have any confessions on her?
Want the dirt? I'm just.
And we're done. Thank you for tuning in to Sister Confession. Stay tuned for next episode. Yeah, he knows all the dirt.
Yeah, I got some here. Let me tell you guys. Like and subscribe and donate, and you'll get more out of it. But today, I'm just going to give you a little bit. So she's a big scaredy cat. Like, oh my gosh, like I can't walk into the room. Like I walk into the room, and if she doesn't know I'm coming in, she's screaming. Like
screams.
Oh my gosh, like I feel like so bad because I'll just walk in the room like, ah! She'll just like.
My own shadow has scared me.
I didn't know this about her.
Gosh,
I did not know this about you, Desiree.
You catch her off guard, and she's like just freaked out. Right?
Yes.
And so that ties it into. I always liked horror movies, scary movies, gory movies, that kind of stuff. I don't think I've seen one in 18 years, because
No, every I sacrifice my comfort and we watch a scary movie.
But it's not really like a scary one.
It's super
one
scary
that's
to
like
me.
Middle. It's not like we're going to a horror movie or something like that.
Well, okay, the last movie we saw that was it was a horror movie to me was I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yeah, that was
What?
like, that was like released.
That was a horror movie,
It was
Desiree?
so scary. I literally
I'm so sorry, JR.
I was in the movie theater like, this is just a movie. This is
Yeah.
just a movie. This is just a movie. I hate it. Like, why do people like to feel like that? It's scary. Like, I don't like it.
I didn't know you were. I didn't know this about her.
So yeah, she's a big scaredy cat.
Yeah.
Like you just have to be careful. Like I'm like, throw stuff at her to wake her up before I wake her up, or she'll be scared. Or
I do get scared. My own shadow. All right. It's a confession.
Well, Desiree, you wouldn't like to live with me because I appear in rooms apparently to
quiet.
everyone that lives with me.
Yes.
I scare people that don't get scared. Like
No.
I think I'm walking around normal and making noise, but apparently I'm super quiet and I sneak up, they think. And all of a sudden, like, I just saw you in the other room. How did you just appear here? I'm like, I've been here. What are you talking about? And I freak people out. So yeah, it's good we don't live together.
I'd be jumping around all day long.
Yeah.
My own shadow scared me. All right. So I want to say, JR, both of our husbands have been so supportive of this endeavor.
Yes.
We've been talking about it for a while. I talked with him about it. Obviously, it's a time commitment of every week and the editing and you and I talking about what are we going to talk about this episode. And so, what do you think about Sister Confessions podcast? Because it is vulnerable. So we have we're talking about ourselves and our challenges, and I want to make sure that, of course, we want to make sure our husbands are on board, and so we've been talking about this all along. So what do you think about our new endeavors, Sister Confessions podcast?
Well, so first off, I think this falls right in line with Desiree's creativity, right? Like, so if you don't know Desiree, she has always gone out and done her own thing. Like, she's a photographer, she's a writer, she loves blogging. Like, this is a way she expresses herself. So this is just another, piece of that, and a new avenue for her to connect with people. She loves connection with people. She's always been vulnerable, always willing to talk about her struggles and relate to people and make an impact on people. So like, this is just another avenue for her to do that. And for Michelle, I know this has been great for you too. So like, I honestly think like this is a great outlet for you guys. Obviously it is a time commitment, probably 4 or 5 hours every week, when all's said and done. But you guys are getting something out of it. So I think it's great. Like that, for one, regardless of whoever this touches or helps or whatever, like this is something for you guys to like have your release. Like you said, what do you do for your mental well-being and your wellness? Like this is something for you guys to do for your mental wellness, and I'm in support of that. Like whatever, you guys can do to get to better yourselves, to get through life and to figure things out and to dig deep. Like if this is helpful for you guys, like I think it's awesome. I wouldn't do it. I'd do like a fix it show, like something lighter, but I like that you guys are doing this, and and I can see it going big, like obviously we're just real people, and you guys are just having a conversation. It's not like you guys are therapists or psychologists or whatever, or giving any type of advice. You're just talking about your guys' stuff. And I think,
disclaimer, we are not experts.
Regular people. And I think this is a good avenue. YouTube is a good platform for regular people to get their words out there, and I think it's pretty cool. So
thank you for your support.
Yeah, and it's just cool to me. It's vulnerable, obviously, like having my wife
Yeah.
on air talking about us, or family, and Michelle out there, and your family, and
Yeah.
your husband, and we're all out there. Me being an introvert, this has been awkward for me too. Like, I'm gonna say awkward, but just uncomfortable. Like, I'm not usually one to go talk in front of. It could be millions of people that see me from now
Right
on.
now we have a couple dozen subscribers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So, but you know what? It's something you guys are passionate about, and I've always been supportive of Desiree and her passions. I applaud you guys for it. Like, it's something that I couldn't do on the regular basis, but you guys, it's something that you're passionate about and fulfills you. So, like, good job, guys. I enjoyed it, and
Good.
thanks for having me on. Like,
Yeah.
it's been cool.
Good.
So.
Well, I think
Thank you.
a semi-regular. This was wonderful. Hearing the guy's perspective on, different topics and things, I think is awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
get a bunch of new subscribers because I'm on, then I'll be like, all right, so I might have to come out and help you guys out, get some subscribers.
All right.
some
If you
likes,
enjoyed this podcast, then like and
give
subscribe.
a shout out
Bring
to Mariano and JR.
bring the husbands back.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, bring the husbands back. Thank you, JR. And yes, actually, it for me, I'm also an introvert, and this is hard for me. I When me and Desiree would talk about whatever we would talk about this past year, I just felt a nudge. When you have a calling, like you feel like this needs to get out there, whatever it is. Like that kept happening. And when I was talking to her, I'm like, we need to put these conversations out there because they're not being had. Similarly to you, like you were saying, you're starting to grow relationships with certain individuals where you could have a deeper, meaningful relationship because everything else is on the surface. And I feel like so much is on the surface all the time, and these conversations aren't being had. And with me and Desiree talking over this past year, we would get deep in our conversations, and I just felt this inner calling of you need to get these conversations out there. So it's pretty much way out of my comfort zone, especially being put out on. I don't have social media or anything like that because of that, and being put out there. I just know I'm trying to help people and know that they're not alone, and these feelings that we all have are not talked about, and I just want them talked about so that they know that they're normal and there's solutions, and it does get better. Yes.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
that's the point of all of it.
For sure. Yeah. And I 100% agree. Like, for example, I have a friend, my best friend out in California. Like, we have both gone through our own struggles, and through our own struggles, we've had better conversations than we've ever had our whole life. And we've been friends since 6th grade. So, like, we've become closer friends in the last year and a half just because we're more vulnerable with each other and talking about like hard stuff and not just
Yeah.
shooting the breeze, like,
Yeah.
how's
The weather.
how's this going, or how's the family and that kind of stuff. So, though we do have we're guys, so we do have those conversations sometimes where we're just like, yeah, we're just gonna hang out and play some video games or do whatever, but it's been really good, and it's been helpful for me in my relationships with other other men that I don't really have a whole lot of. I have a group of guys from high school that I'm really good friends with, and it's like when we get together, we never parted. Like, we're the same friends we were in high school, and I love that. But
Yeah.
that being said, it's like there's something more deep than just those friendships we were in high school. So, like, to form those new relationships, I'm working on one right now here in Ohio with a gentleman that I met through church, and we had lunch the other day, and we had a great conversation, a deep conversation. And though it's
That's
difficult,
great.
and he's like, I don't see you as an introvert. I'm like, yeah, this is really something I wouldn't do, but who knows? It might benefit him, and it might benefit me too. Actually, it did benefit me. You know, I enjoyed our conversation, and so for you guys to come on every week and have those deep conversations, um, maybe it'll open the door for somebody else to be like, you know what, they're right. They're out here. They're being vulnerable. They're having great conversations, and maybe it makes it easier for somebody else. So that's kind of my takeaway, is that
That's good.
shoot, you guys can do it
Yes.
every week and just talk and be real. Why can't we do it every day with our people that we care about too? You know.
What a good summary. That's good. All right. Episode 10. Thanks everybody for joining in, and thank you, JR.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We will continue the discussion, and join us next week as we move on to episode 11. Sound good?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Good talking with
All
you.
right. Bye.
Bye, you guys.